Every man has seen the clips that promise instant firmness if you just press the right spot. It sounds comforting, especially when confidence feels fragile and time feels expensive. But here is the quiet truth medicine keeps repeating. Erections are not a button you activate. They are the result of a system working together moment by moment. Blood flow, nerve signals, hormones, and relaxation all have to align. You cannot force blood into tissue the way you squeeze air into a tire. When something is off, the body resists shortcuts. That resistance is not failure, it is information. Online myths focus on tricks because tricks feel empowering. Physiology works differently. It rewards understanding, patience, and correct signals. Once you see that difference, the conversation shifts. This stops being about pressing harder and starts becoming about restoring control. The body already knows how to heal. The idea of two pressure points spreads because it speaks to something deeper than anatomy. It offers control without exposure, action without conversation, and speed without explanation. For many men, especially as the body changes, that promise feels respectful rather than reckless. There is also a quiet psychological effect at play, what doctors often call immediate control bias. When something personal stops responding, the mind looks for a direct override. Press here, fix now. It feels logical, even responsible. The problem is not the desire. Wanting privacy and certainty is human. The problem is confusing emotional relief with biological change. Belief can calm anxiety, but blood vessels, nerves, and hormones do not negotiate. Understanding why the idea feels right is the first step toward understanding why it fails. For many men listening, an erection is not a nerve trick, and it is not triggered by surface pressure. It is a circulation event. When arousal signals are sent from the brain, a vascular sequence begins that doctors sometimes describe as the penile blood gate, arteries feeding the tissue open wider, allowing blood to rush in. At the same time, the veins that normally drain that blood narrow and compress. Pressure builds inside the chambers, not because blood is pushed, but because it is held. Surface nerves play a role in sensation, not control. They inform the brain, but they do not command the gates. That command comes from deeper chemical signals tied to nitric oxide, vessel elasticity, and nervous system balance. This is where myths collapse. Rubbing or pressing may increase awareness, but awareness is not circulation. Once you understand this distinction, confusion gives way to clarity, and the problem starts to look solvable rather than mysterious for men seeking lasting physical control. What acupressure actually does is often misunderstood. Applying pressure to certain points can calm the nervous system, slow breathing, and shift attention away from anxiety. That matters because stress tightens vessels and disrupts signaling. In that sense, pressure can have an indirect influence, but indirect influence is not direct control. No point on the skin can suddenly dilate deep penile arteries or close venous channels in seconds. Those changes depend on chemistry inside the vessel walls, not mechanical touch from outside. This is where exaggeration fills the gap. Relaxation may make conditions more favorable, but it does not override circulation instantly. Understanding this difference protects you from false disappointment. It reframes acupressure as a supporting tool, not a switch, and once that boundary is clear, trust returns, along with a more realistic path toward restoring reliable blood flow over time. Most men assume erection problems begin in the nerves or the mind. Desire feels weaker, response feels slower, so the blame lands there. But the real blockage often forms long before sensation changes. It develops quietly in the blood vessels themselves. Doctors refer to this as silent flow resistance. The inner lining of arteries stiffens, nitric oxide production declines, and insulin resistance interferes with vessel relaxation. Chronic stress keeps the nervous system locked in defense mode, preventing full dilation. None of this causes pain. There is no warning signal you can feel. Blood still moves, just not efficiently enough to build pressure when it matters. That is why effort increases while results decrease. The encouraging part is this process is functional, not fixed. Vessels respond to correction. Once flow efficiency is restored, response follows. The issue is not lost masculinity. It is a system asking to be repaired, not abandoned, and it improves faster than most men expect with guidance. Testosterone is often blamed when erections weaken, but hormones do not create erections on their own. They set the conditions that allow them to happen. Think of testosterone as hormonal permission, not vascular execution. Adequate levels support nitric oxide production, protect vessel lining health, and maintain sexual motivation. When levels fall, the system loses efficiency, not desire alone. Blood flow still does the work, but it does it poorly. This distinction matters because chasing hormones without restoring circulation leads to frustration. Boosting numbers on a lab report cannot force arteries to open or veins to close. Hormones prepare the environment. Blood flow performs the act. When both are addressed together, response becomes reliable again. Understanding this prevents overcorrection and keeps attention on repair rather than replacement. It also explains why many men feel mentally interested but physically delayed. The permission exists, but execution. Instant fixes fail because the body does not respond to force, it responds to consistency. Shortcuts create brief sensation without rebuilding the systems underneath, so the response fades as quickly as it appears. What actually works is something doctors think of as responsiveness training. As circulation improves, nerves communicate more clearly, and confidence returns. The system begins to synchronize again. Each signal meets less resistance. Each response requires less effort. This is not about waiting and hoping. It is about applying the right inputs long enough for tissue to adapt. Most men notice measurable changes within weeks: firmer partial responses, quicker recovery, less anxiety during intimacy. Over months, stability replaces unpredictability. That timeline is not weakness. It is discipline. Masculine control has never meant instant results. It has always meant understanding the process, staying consistent, and letting the body relearn what it already knows how to do again over time. There is a more reliable way forward, and it does not involve chasing points on the skin. It involves resetting 3 systems that control response together, what we can call the male flow triad. First is circulation support. Blood vessels must be flexible, responsive, and able to hold pressure. Second is nervous system calming. A body stuck in stress mode cannot open flow gates, no matter how strong desire feels. Third is metabolic cleanup. Insulin resistance and inflammation quietly interfere with both vessels and signals. This is not a list of tricks, it is a framework. When these systems are addressed together, response stops feeling fragile and starts feeling predictable. Control returns without force. The fear many men feel begins to dissolve, replaced by direction. You stop asking which point to press and start understanding which systems to restore, and why patience combined with structure produces results that shortcuts never sustain. This shift turns uncertainty into strategy and effort into measurable, repeatable progress forward. When erections change, doctors do not start with performance tricks. They look for patterns that reveal how the body is functioning overall. Blood pressure trends matter because stiff arteries show up here first. Waist size matters because abdominal fat disrupts vascular signaling and hormones. Sleep quality matters because poor sleep suppresses nitric oxide and recovery. Medications are reviewed carefully since many common prescriptions quietly reduce flow or nerve sensitivity. None of this is about judgment. It is data. Clinically, an erection is treated as an early signal, not an isolated problem. It often appears before heart symptoms, diabetes warnings, or chronic fatigue. Seen this way, change becomes useful information rather than embarrassment. Men who respond early gain leverage. They correct course while systems are flexible, instead of waiting until damage becomes harder to reverse. That shift from secrecy to awareness is where Control does not come from pressing harder or searching for hidden switches. It comes from alignment inside the body. When blood flow, nervous system balance, and hormonal support work together, response becomes reliable again. There is nothing weak about this approach. It is deliberate. It respects how the male body actually functions instead of fighting it. Pressure promises speed, but alignment delivers stability. This is why instant claims fade, while structured recovery holds. Understanding replaces frustration. Consistency replaces anxiety. Time stops feeling like an enemy and starts working for you. The goal is not instant hardness. The goal is confidence that response will be there when needed, without forcing it. That confidence grows quietly, through correct signals repeated over time. Control, in the end, is not about domination. It is about cooperation with systems designed to respond when supported.